everybody. So the video from last night had a really great response. The video where I said I was responding to Paul Thorpe. It's had over 8,000 views. I've had over 300 comments and well over 900 likes. So thank you for that. Thank you for the comments. I've tried to answer everybody's comment. I do read all the comments. Trust me, I do. I just can't respond to them all. But I have read all of them. And this is what this video is about. It's responding to some of those comments that I read last night and this morning. So the consensus seems to be that people can't get down to London and protest. And I think that's what's hindering the numbers down there. Either people can't afford to go down there, or they just don't want to go down to London because, let's face it, it's a shithole. And not everybody wants to be in London. And it's a very costly exercise travelling down there, especially if the only way you can get down there is via rail. I wouldn't recommend trying to do it on the National Express coach because it takes hours. So that's putting a lot of people off. And the fact that you're holding it down in London is limiting the amount of people that will go there. So having smaller protests, they don't have to be massive protests. They don't have to be massive turnouts. You can have 200 or 300 people in little towns. You can have probably a couple of thousand people in the cities. It's just to get yourselves into the public consciousness. They see you, so they think, well, what's going on in this country? There are protests everywhere. That's what you have to do. So the main reason why the numbers don't get so big down in London is because people just can't travel down there, and that was obvious. You've got people in Scotland that want to join in the protest but can't. So maybe there needs to be like regional organisers of protests. And remember, you have to keep them peaceful. The minute you get violent, the state then knows how to deal with you. And you're playing into their hands. You're no longer playing their game. It's all about tactics. The idea is to stretch their resources. Hope not hate, stand up to racism, stretch their resources. If you do one rally down in London, they can focus all their efforts on that rally. This was brought up in the comments. If you have smaller protests all around the country, they can't cover them all. You're spreading them out and it dwindles their numbers. They're not massive. They're not massive at all, these counter-protesters. So you play them at their own game. And that's what this is all about. And people have been saying they're scared, they're afraid to go and protest in their towns and cities because they're majority Muslim. Well, I featured a young man on this channel a few days ago. He stood in front of the pro-Palestine march on his own with the St. George's flag, on his own, counter-protesting them. That's the sort of courage we need in this situation. And don't forget, courage isn't the absence of fear. It's doing the right thing in the face of fear. We need more courage. And people have been saying, well, I can't make it down to the protest because I can't afford to have time off work and stuff like that. Well, I understand that. I've been through that myself. I really have. But the situation is we are not going to win this without risk. So we need courage. You're going to have to take risks and you're going to have to make sacrifices. Otherwise, you're not going to get this country back. We aren't. We're just not going to get this country back. And having protests all around the country, you're slowly waking up the normies as well. The people that are spoon-fed the mainstream media. Anyway, I think that's all I've got to say on that. Obviously, there were some Faragists in the comments who didn't like my comments about the Reform Party. Well, unfortunately, facts don't care about your feelings either. Farage isn't a leader, in my opinion, and I think people are sleepwalking into another situation with Boris Johnson in 2019, where he was supposed to be the next Churchill, but turned out to be the next Chamberlain. That is something we don't want to sleepwalk into again. I've seen enough of Nigel Farage to realise that he flip-flops around on policies and what he says. He's not consistent, and that should be a red flag for everybody. So with that in mind, this is Vindicator, signing off.